Next, we come back to our series, The Green Rush. Now that adult marijuana use is legal in California, the state government is starting to write new rules to treat marijuana growers somewhat like winemakers and allow areas to be considered an official growing region. The hope is that by doing so, it could provide a lifeline for small farmers. Business and economics correspondent Paul Solman has the story. It's part of his reporting, Making Sense.
In Mendocino County, California, Swami Chaitanya announces his presence to Ganesh, Hindu god of, among other things, good luck, who presides over the crops Swami grows to produce Swami Select, his patented marijuana brand.
All the potency is in the female plants.
So why do you have the males here then?
Well, because we don't know which is which yet. At
is that right?
Yeah, at a certain point, each plant will declare what's your gender declaration, right? So they change from time to time. They do. I'm not kidding you.
So cannabis is gender fluid.
Absolutely.
California's marijuana market has itself been pretty fluid of late. Swami's been growing for years at his remote ranch, but he went legit, and legalization brought costly regulations and taxes, which his black market colleagues aren't saddled with. And new industrial-scale rivals have economies of scale that lower their costs. So how can a small legal grower like Swami possibly compete? Branding.
The place you want to be is on the high end. Not just quality, but something about your style, something about your story. And you make it a small batch and you make that your advantage.
Niche branding, as with wines and their appellations.
So the idea is that the soil that a crop or a product grows in creates something in that product which is unique. And if you grow it anywhere else, it's not going to be the same.
French wines are classified by location, grape variety, and winemaking practices. Champagne can only come from Champagne. Swami claims to produce the champagne of pot.
If you take a bottle of sparkling wine from Spain or anywhere else and compare it to a Veuve Clicquot or a Dom Perignon, it's going to be different. The wine, the product, is an expression of the soil it comes out of, and the culture and skill of the people who make the product.
At Alpenglow Farms in Humboldt County, the cannabis flourishes near waterfalls and flowers.
This is our signature strain. We have bred these over the past 15 years for our site and our location and our climate.
This specific environment is what French winemakers and now California pot growers call their terroir. Craig Johnson is shooting for a southern Humboldt appellation.
Industrial America is not producing what we produce. You're not seeing rows of greenhouses here. We have regenerative growing practices, which are above and beyond sustainable and organic, as you might know it. So this is the internet of the earth, right here. These long fungal strands. We have living soils. You peel back that cover crop and there's worms and biology. The checks and balances of nature we try to keep in tune with.
And thus, the entire culture of cultivation is what makes his premium products a hit. Even his vaping oil.
And what is that?
So this is extract from our flower, Blood Orange Kush, that was grown right here on our big flat. This is extracted by a company called Chemistry. You can think of it as a grape grower winemaker relationship.
I see, and they're the winemaker, Chemistry.
They're the winemaker, we're the grape grower. This is single source, single batch.
So it's like a vintage.
Yes, so this would be summer 2018, Southern Humboldt County, Alpenglow Farms.
Of course, the business model wholly hinges on consumers caring where their cannabis comes from and willing to pay up for it. Craig and wife Melanie are betting they will.
There is a strong resurgence for family, family-owned, family farms. People want that experience of knowing where their food comes from, where their medicine comes from, and I feel that as a small farmer, we will always have that niche. We may not have 1 million people, but we'll have enough people.
We have a little bit of cloud cover this morning.
In order to find their people, the Johnsons brand boost every day, on Instagram Live, for instance.
My goodness, I wish you guys could smell that. It's amazing this morning. We have people popping up live from Israel, Uruguay, New York. I want them to have an image of this site, this area, and have
A connection.
To the plant.
The Johnsons are, of course, aware of the very different image of where they harvest.
I've been shot at, beaten, kidnapped 3 times.
On Humboldt County's Murder Mountain,
Which is right over the ridge right there.
a Netflix documentary about the murder of a black market grower presents a lawless, violent image that Humboldt farmers are intent on countering. Swami, in prior life William Winans, a 60s Wesleyan grad, filmmaker, San Francisco hippie who spent 10 years in India, has his own angle.
Is the way you're dressed, the way you look, have anything to do with furthering your branding because it gives an authenticity to Swami Select?
So that, I was a Swami before I really started getting into growing the finest cannabis, right? But they go hand in hand, because there are many, many Swamis in India who start the day with a chillum of hashish. And it's seen as a way to get more in touch with the divine energy which surrounds us all over the place.
And Swami, who's been toking for more than 50 years, thinks there's getting in touch and getting in touch.
But don't I have to be an aficionado to be able to tell the difference? I mean, really.
That would help. Come here, come here.
Dylan Matole thinks an appellation for Matole Valley Sungrown is key to his farm's future.
It's more than just a agricultural commodity to us. It's part of our culture.
As to survival against industrial-scale investors, Matole says wine is just one model.
We have Budweiser, and we have hundreds of small microbreweries.
Some of Matole's neighbors have formed a cannabis farmer co-op to create some economies of scale.
Hopefully that we'll still have a chance that we can actually compete against corporations. I don't have the money to spend on marketing. I mean, with all these other farms, we have the chance that we can pool some of our resources. I might actually be able to do some branding.
Just packaging product is very difficult. Not only the cost, but the regulations. Working together, each of us can share a piece of that burden.
Michael Salbago reminded us that necessity is the mother of invention.
We grow in this sustainable fashion because we couldn't afford to just go out and buy everything in bags and buckets, and we had to use the manure on the land or cultivate things from our own property because that was what was affordable.
This is all going to turn into dirt.
Like soil made from Amazon boxes.
You got a bonanza of worms here.
The worms process the paper into a super readily available plant nutrient.
So small farmers are selling the step beyond sustainable or organic, regenerative farming. But the market has other ideas.
Now all of a sudden, what we did naturally was just farming. Now it's how many likes do you have on Instagram? How many pictures have you posted? You've got farmers, family farms, that don't know if they're going to make it. We're up against people with pockets that are so deep that they can survive at a loss for the next 5 years to capture market share.
Swami Chaitanya's forecast?
Our dedication is to making the finest cannabis that we know how to grow, and how big that gets is not up to me. It's up to the goddess of economics, actually.
But if Lakshmi, Hindu goddess of wealth, has made up her mind, she isn't telling anyone for sure just yet. For the PBS NewsHour, this is business and economics correspondent Paul Solman, deep in the woods of Northern California.